They said my fence was illegal. They told me to tear it down or pay hundreds in fines. But here's what they didn't expect. I read the bylaws better than they did. And when they pushed me too far, I didn't just push back. I took them to court. The judge's reaction. Let's just say that fence is still standing, and the HOA isn't smiling anymore. I live in a quiet neighborhood, one of those communities with neatly trimmed lawns, matching mailboxes, and an HOA that loves pretending it's the law. When I moved in 5 years ago, the fence behind my house was old and splintered. It leaned like it had seen too many winters. So one summer I decided to replace it. Same height, same line, same color, just sturdier and cleaner. 2 days after it went up, I got a letter. Violation, unapproved structure. Immediate correction required. I thought it was a mistake. The fence was identical to the one before it, just not falling apart. I emailed the HOA board, attached pictures, and pointed out that the replacement didn't change anything. Structure, dimensions, everything was within the rules. No response. Then a second letter came. $250 fine for illegal fencing. That's when I realized this wasn't about the fence. It was about control. So I read the entire HOA rulebook. Took notes, highlighted sections, and there it was. The line that said fences could be replaced without pre-approval, as long as dimensions and placement remain unchanged. Exactly my case. I sent a detailed response citing the rule, word for word. Again, silence. A week later, my neighbor texted me a photo. 2 HOA board members standing inside my yard, measuring my fence while I was at work. No notice, no permission. That was it. I pulled my security footage and called my lawyer. The HOA had crossed a line, literally. Trespassing, property damage, intimidation, all because they didn't like being challenged. We sent them a formal letter demanding the fine be dropped and an apology issued. Instead, they doubled down. Another fine, another letter. At that point, I wasn't angry. I was ready. My lawyer filed a civil complaint for trespassing, harassment, and violation of property rights. When the HOA got the court summons, they suddenly wanted to resolve it internally. Too late for that. The hearing took place in a small local courtroom. No jury, just a judge and a handful of bored-looking HOA board members who clearly thought this would be quick. Their attorney opened with the usual nonsense. Community standards, aesthetic uniformity, homeowner noncompliance. The judge nodded, unimpressed. Then my lawyer stood up and calmly laid everything out. The bylaw clause showing I had the right to replace my fence. Time-stamped security footage of HOA members trespassing. Photos showing the fence was identical in every measurable way. The judge leaned back and looked at the HOA's lawyer. So, he said, you fined him for replacing a fence that matches the original, which your own rules allow. The HOA lawyer fumbled for words. Well, Your Honor, we believe... The judge cut him off. You believed wrong. Read your own documents. Then he smiled, just slightly, and added, and while you're at it, you can pay his legal fees. The HOA president's jaw dropped. One board member actually groaned out loud. The ruling was crystal clear. The HOA had no authority to fine me. They trespassed unlawfully. They owed compensation for property damage and all legal costs. And best of all, the judge issued a written order. No HOA representative may enter the homeowner's property again without explicit written consent. That fence, still standing untouched. The HOA, silent ever since. 2 months later, I heard that the HOA president and their compliance officer both resigned. Guess reading bylaws wasn't their strength. Now every time I look at that fence, I remember what it represents, standing your ground, literally and legally. If you've ever been bullied by an HOA, remember this, you have rights. Read your bylaws, know your boundaries, and don't let a board full of power-hungry neighbors tell you what to do on land you own. Because fences don't just protect property, they protect peace. Like, subscribe and share if you've ever stood your ground against an HOA that went too far,